Final project, I will be discussing various cases that I thought was very interesting to me, that I learned from the most. This case relates to rulemaking, as the pilots argued that the rules, which were enacted in January 2003, were illegally imposed without prior notice. They contest the legitimacy of the restrictions. Also, they challenged the cancellations of the airman certifications, claiming that their Fifth Amendment rights to due process were violated and that there was insufficient proof. The court ultimately ruled in their favor of the government, concluding that the regulations were lawfully implemented and that the revocations of the pilot's certifications were supported by substantial evidence and did not violate the due process rights, despite the pilot's valid legal challenges regarding the APA and the Fifth Amendment due process rights. Now, this is what I've learned from this case. As I learned from this case was that case serves as an example of the idea that judges should defer to agencies' decision making when it comes to matters which agencies are more knowledgeable about. It shows how instead of reviving the fundamental merits of the agency's conclusion, courts usually access acts taken by the agency for arbitrariness, capriciousness, and abuse of discretion. Another case that I got from the topic, informal adjudication. A case that caught my attention in the course was the case of Berry versus Barchi. This case revolves around the regulations of horses racing in New York, and the suspicion of horse trainers' license based on an alleged drugging of a horse. Now, in the structure of a horse racing regulation, this case presents an interesting connection of administrative law, due process rights, and equal protection concerns. The delicate balancing act between the private rights of those participating, especially horse trainers like John Barchi, and the state's interest in policing the sport for integrity and public trust is one aspect that sticks out to me personally. The court drives into the issues of due process, recognizing that the state's interest in maintaining the integrity of racing is the important effects of Barchi's livelihood being suspended. In the end, the court finds that the regulations allowing quick suspension without pre-suspension hearing a constitutional, noting the state's interest in quickly resolving violations in order to preserve the integrity of the sport. Due to the unequal handling of thoroughbred and harnessing race, the lawsuit raises issues of equal protection, and that is what I've learned. The third case, Camera versus Municipal Court. I gained a great deal of knowledge and understanding from this case regarding the importance of the Fourth Amendment in protecting personal privacy from arbitrary government intrusion. What stood out to me was the importance of judicial review is to protect fundamental rights and provide public officials to be held accountable for their acts. The Fourth Amendment protection against unlawful seizures and searches is shown by the court's examination in this case, which shows the judiciary duty to secure individuals' rights. Prior to this case, I was very unaware of the importance of search warrants and how they served to ensure the government's intent were both restricted and justified. For example, in the case, Camera was accused of breaking the San Francisco housing code by refusing to allow warrantless inspections of his rented property. The question of whether administrative inspections programs that are carried out without warrants violate the Fourth Amendment rights and has been revisited in the lights of many other cases. Another thing that was interesting to me in this course, this case versus Child case was very interesting, as the case shows how crucial it is for public administrators to comprehend the following by legal environment in which they function. It draws attention to the possible effects of legislative actions on administrative decisions, as well as the need for them to navigate challenging legal and constitutional issues while carrying out these tasks. The case acts as a reminder of different processes by which Congress transfers jurisdictions over immigrations and deportation issues to executive branch, and more especially to the Attorney General. It emphasizes the difficulty and the accountability associated with this kind of delegation, as well as the possible repercussions when Congress tries to overrule executive choices. In this course with Dr. Abel, something that immediately jumped out to me that I had a whole different perspective on was the idea of reflective equilibrium. How it was discussed in the course, the value of a deliberate process where people or groups evaluate their ideas, principles, and theoretical considerations in order to arrive at a decision of justification, which is very different from what I thought of how the government would make decisions, as a lot of decisions being made are based on the collective group's belief system. This also discussed how a public administrator assesses rules, policies, and the procedures used in the government's decision-making process. By changing their beliefs in response to fresh information and difficulties, administrators might aim to improve decision-making results, which is very interesting how important decision-making is for the government's field, and that it is important to be able to analyze things and use their common sense and your instincts to know what's right or wrong to make a decision in the courthouse. Finally, these examples have been the most interesting to me during this course, and I have learned a great deal from insights. This offers a great overview of a variety of legal and administrative concepts that public administrators must comprehend and use for their work. The pilot's challenge and the rule-making conversation show how crucial agency ability is in the decision-making process, in particular where agencies have specialized knowledge in the field being regulated. It highlights the idea of judicial differences of the agency's determinations. Public administrators must have these expertise since they might be responsible for creating and enforcing regulations and rules like this in their respective field. This case of Berry versus Barchi explores the complex interplay in administrative law between private rights and public interests. The lawsuit concerns equal protection under the law and due process rights, especially in the highly regulated sectors like horse racing, while maintaining the integrity of regulatory frameworks and defending individual rights. Public administrators must negotiate these intricate legal environments. The significance of judicial review in protecting individual liberty is made clear by the analysis of the Fourth Amendment's prohibition on unauthorized searches and seizures in cases such as Cameron versus Municipal Court. Us as public administrators have a responsibility to ensure that administrative acts are carried out within the parameters of constitutional protections and must be aware of legal boundaries regarding government. Public administrators need to understand the legal frameworks in which they work, especially when it comes to relationships between the legislative and executive branches. This demonstrates by the INS versus Childer case. It emphasizes the accountability involved in administrative decision-making, as well as the difficulties and challenges of delegating jurisdiction. The complex interactions between multiple departments of the government and the possible effects of legislative actions on administrative functions are brought to light in this case. Last, reflective equilibrium debate clarifies how government organizations make decisions. It emphasizes how crucial it is to critically assess and be adaptable while creating and implementing policies. To guarantee that decisions are made effectively, public administrators must carefully evaluate these rules and regulations and processes. These examples show the complexity of public administrations and highlight the value of legal expertise, procedural justices, and critical thinking in managing these challenges of governments. Public administrators must comprehend these ideas in order to carry out their responsibility in any way that upholds justice, accountability, and public trust. Thank you.